If he does not get a waiver, then what? Then you're going to have the greatest race car driver in our era not race for a championship. How stupid is that?
NASCAR fans, we've got a juicy one today, packed with drama, crashes, and a whole lot of debate. Buckle up, because we're going to talk about a storm that just did not cut short the Coca-Cola 600 race, but it's dark clouds that are looming over Kyle Larson, as well as his recent Kyle Busch saga that's got everyone talking. Despite earning a 10th position at the Gateway Motorsports Park race, the question arises, will Larson's playoff dreams get dashed? And what's the buzz around the waiver controversy? It's been a roller coaster of crashes, controversies, and waiver drama. Rev up those engines and let's get into the nitty-gritty of what went down on the track and beyond. Let's rewind to the final lap of Stage 2 at the Enjoy Illinois 300. The tensions were high, and Kyle Busch in the number 8 was gunning for glory. But boom, Kyle Larson in the number 5 slides sideways, smacks into Busch's Camaro, sending him crashing into the outside barrier of Turn 2. Talk about a heartbreaker for Busch, who ended up with a DNF, his first of the season.
Yeah, you see him come up at turn 2 right here, and I think that they make a little bit of contact right there. Kyle Larson trying to side draft, and I think Busch is frustrated with that. Squeezes him down the racetrack, and then Larson spins out into the 8, and they both hit the fence. Busch was frustrated with Larson. You see him way down the racetrack. Let's hear what he said.
I mean, he turned into me.
This crash was no small deal. Busch, a Richard Childress racing driver, was riding a solid season, staying above the playoff cut line by 12 points. But that crash knocked him out of the race and threw a wrench in his playoff plans.
Looked like he got loose, I guess, down the front straightaway into turn 1. He was on older tires and trying to get us for a spot. Not sure what that single point was really going to mean for him, but certainly hurt us a lot. That point away, as well as the others that we'd get for the stage, and then also the rest of the day. So very frustrating. We can't afford days like that. The Rebel Camaro wasn't what it was last year, but it was a top 10 car, and we were going to finish there.
Now, Busch might have been taken out, but Larson kept on rolling. Let's not forget, Larson had his own set of dramas. After missing the last Cup Series race at Charlotte for the 1,100-mile Memorial Day double, he's back and fighting for his playoff spot. But the big question on everyone's mind, will Kyle Larson get a waiver to stay playoff eligible? Here's the deal. Hendrick Motorsports has put in a formal request for a playoff waiver for Larson. But before that, don't let NASCAR fade away. Your subscription is the fuel we need to keep the sport alive and thriving. Subscribe now. NASCAR's VP, Elton Sawyer, acknowledged the request, explaining it is a unique situation, but didn't give any timeline for a decision.
We'll go through our due diligence and meet with our people, and again, this will be a decision that not just one person will make, but a group will sit and look at it and discuss it and move forward. I think you look at it from the standpoint of, obviously they submit the request. He has missed the race, so we start this. It's a little bit uncharted waters for us, because that in the past the waivers have been mostly given to for a medical reason. So this one's a little bit different from that aspect, and just a lot of, we've had some preliminary discussions, but we haven't landed.
That's got the whole NASCAR community buzzing and debating whether he should or not get the waiver. Denny Hamlin was one of the drivers to speak up about Larson's situation. Hamlin believes Kyle Larson has already served his penalty for ditching the Coca-Cola 600 for the Indy 500. Hamlin understood NASCAR having second thoughts about Larson's waiver request, but stated how Larson is already on the bitter end of things.
Kyle wasn't missing this to go to a high limit race. He was missing this to do the Indy 500. I think absolutely he will. It's a tough predicament for everyone to be in. He lost out by not being able to collect any points for the 600, right? I mean, that really was the penalty.
Hamlin also shed some light on the timeline for the decision by NASCAR.
I don't know when they submitted it and what usually is the timeline of accepting or denying in a certain amount of time, but I certainly think that they made their best efforts to get there. I understand NASCAR's part of wanting to protect themselves from this happening in the future, but I think that they made good faith efforts to.
Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. brought up an interesting point. Should Larson be penalized for a decision he made knowing the risks involved? As per journalist Jordan Bianchi, granting the waiver would set a bad precedent, but Dale Jr. weighs in about the ongoing waiver debate.
Jordan Bianchi on our teardown Sunday night took a pretty firm stance that he does not believe Kyle Larson should get a waiver. And I can understand a lot of his points about that. But for me, I feel like that NASCAR has been so loose with these waivers at this point. I never doubted him not getting a waiver or getting a waiver. I thought he'd get one.
In a recent episode of Kenny Wallace's podcast, The Kenny Wallace Show, he clearly expressed what NASCAR should do.
What NASCAR needs to do. The history of the waiver is very vague. They have been giving drivers waivers for years over silly stuff. So because of that, Kyle Larson will get a waiver. If he does not get a waiver, then what? Then you're going to have the greatest race car driver in our era not race for a championship. How stupid is that? How dumb is that?
Despite all the drama between the duo, Kyle Busch is in support of Larson getting the waiver. When the journalists asked Busch about it, he said,
Kyle Larson. Guy's doing more for motorsports than anybody else.
Let's check out what Hendrick Motorsports drivers' other fellow NASCAR drivers had to say about it. Brad Keselowski, co-owner of RFK Racing, is all for Larson getting the waiver. He believes it's good for the sport and the industry as a whole.
Surprised that he hasn't got it yet, but I do think he'll get it and that he should get it. Everybody sees the value in that. Industry angst over, when things got an interesting situation. I feel like he'll get a waiver and he should get a waiver. And as of now, it seems as though, he's going to have to sweat it for a little bit.
Indiana native Stuart Haas racing driver Chase Briscoe, who is no stranger to the Indianapolis 500, shared his views.
Obviously, whenever you sign up to run the Cup Series, it's kind of part of the deal. You have to run every single race, but at the same time, I feel like it's just a tough spot to be in right now, because if you don't get the waiver, there's probably no more guys running the double ever. So I really don't know which way I lean. I'm kind of 50-50. Going into it that you weren't going to get a waiver, I don't think any team would probably let you go run the Indy 500, truthfully.
Moving to Larson's teammate, William Byron. He seems very confident about number 5 getting the waiver.
I feel like he definitely should and is going to get a waiver. A lot of other circumstances where people have gotten, injuries or suspensions or missed races, So I feel like it'll all work itself out.
So, where do we stand now? Larson has made it clear, waiver or no waiver, he's in it to win it for Hendrick Motorsports. But insiders like Jeff Gluck warn that NASCAR might not grant the waiver, despite the overwhelming support from fans and some drivers. If he doesn't get the waiver, it could change the game for future drivers wanting to double dip in other motorsport events. And there you have it, folks. What are your views on it? Should Kyle Larson get the waiver? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe for more interesting stories and updates from everything NASCAR. Until next time, keep the conversation going on Lucky Dog on Track.